New performance standards set for Nigeria's governance process. Underperforming ministers or aides to be shown the way out.
Nigeria and the United States of America meet on partnership for food security.
Crisis in Rivers State PDP Governors Forum meet Nyesom Wike.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we focus on managing elections in Nigeria.
Over time, concerned persons have sought new methods to address issues that arise during elections in Nigeria for better outcomes in future exercises.
Absolutely, Demola, and several initiatives, of course, have been enunciated by government, especially the use of technology such as the bimodal voter accreditation system known as BVAS, and of course the use of IREV portal for real-time uploading of election results. But as things appear, those initiatives may not be fixing some of the major election flaws in the electoral process.
Yeah, Claire, the off-cycle elections in Kogi, Bayelsa and Imo State are just about more than a week away. This places a serious burden on all actors to ensure issues such as electoral violence, ethnic politics, fake news, information disorder, insecurity, inter- and intra-party issues, and low voter turnout, among other challenges, are adequately addressed to aid a smooth process.
And just to remind you, of course, of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, that Electoral Act came to make election processes seamless. But of course, as Dimola has just noted, the election flows, political violence and all whatnot have continued to exist. And that's the reason why political analysts are insisting that efforts should be made to address challenges encountered, of course, during the 2023 general elections. And as the off-cycle elections approach, they are seeking prosecution of persons who are alleged to have perpetrated or financed any of those electoral violence.
They also advise political leaders to tone down on toxic comments, while the electoral umpire, INEC, should adhere to the provisions of electoral laws on balloting, collation, tallying, transmission and announcement of results to avoid voter apathy.
So why election perfection may be difficult to attain, and indeed it isn't globally, there is need to also look at how it should be properly managed in Nigeria. Now, today on Good Morning Nigeria, we've assembled a panel of discussants, and they'll be speaking on some of the critical and fundamental issues that have plagued our elections and indeed the electoral process, and of course impacted on our democratic stability over the years. On this note, I welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria, and it's Thursday's edition live from the network service of the NTA. I am Claire Adilabu Abdulrazak.
And I am Ademola Adeoye. Let me join my colleague Claire to warmly welcome you to this Thursday's episode of Good Morning Nigeria. We are broadcasting live from our studios here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, on the network service of the NTA. In a moment, Nolin Abel Ama will give us highlights of the morning news, then some snippets of business news, and much later we'll review the newspapers. For now, let's join Nolin for the highlights of today's news. Nolin, good morning.
Good morning, Ademola. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Nigeria. Here is the morning news. President Bola Tinubu is setting a new performance standard in Nigerian governance as he has categorically made it clear that any underperforming minister or aide will be shown the way out of his government. This is the forewarning the president gave at the 2023 cabinet retreat to prepare ministers and other presidential aides for the business of governance under the current administration.
Greater Nigeria will come under your commitment, guidance, and resolute determination to give the country a direction. Let your achievement be homegrown. The determination that Nigeria can do it is here. We are not retreating from progress. We are just to talk to one another and chart a path for progress and prosperity of this nation. If you are performing, nothing to fear. If you miss the objective, we review. If no performance, you leave us.
Nigeria is seeking partnership with the United States government on food security. Vice President Kashim Shettima met the request when he met with Mr. Kari Fowler, U.S. Special Envoy for Global Food Security, as part of his engagement in the United States of America.
Challenges, and we have to think outside the box. We have to look for ingenious solutions that can help us to cross the Rubicon. I believe with your support, the political will is there, now more than ever before. So that together we can save humanity and serve the human race. In Nigeria, we have research institutes that are devoted to millet and sorghum. You can partner with them. The Lake Chad Research Institute in Borno State has that mandate to dwell on millet and sorghum. And they are doing excellently well.
And back home, the Senate has confirmed the appointment of Mr. Shaka Chira as the Auditor General of the Federation. Also screened and confirmed are 7 nominees as resident electoral commissioners for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. They include Mr. Etekamba Omoren, Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Isa Ihemehe, Edo State, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Babalola, Ekiti State, Abubakar Maji, Gombe State, Shehu Wahab, Kwara State, Aminu Idris, Nasarawa State, and Mohammed Abubakar Sadiq, Niger State. In the course of the screening, the Senate commended President Tinubu for selecting persons of integrity to serve as resident electoral commissioner. President Bola Tinubu has written the House of Representatives seeking approval of the federal government's 2022-2024 external borrowing plan to enable the processing of $7.8 billion and 100 million euros loan facilities captured in the plan. The president affirmed the loan facilities will help meet development needs in critical sectors of the economy.
First administration approved the 2022 to 2024 borrowing plan. The project cut across all sectors with specific emphasis on infrastructure, agriculture, health, education, water supply, security, and employment generation.
On security, the Imo State Police Command has debunked the alleged arrest of the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajaero, in Owerri. A statement signed by the police public relations officer, Imo State, says the NLC president was in Owerri as part of arrangements of the Congress to mobilize workers for a mega protest rally in the state. In the course of their planning, It was reported that suggestions arose for the lockdown of some essential facilities, particularly the airport, which led to the resistance of the process by some individuals, leading to scuffles and heated arguments and an eventual attack on the person of the president by a mob. The statement notes that upon receiving this report, the Imo Police Command swiftly deployed police operatives to the scene, where the officer in charge exercised his operational discretion by taking the NLC president into protective custody at the State Command headquarters to ensure the protection of his life and that he was not lynched in the scuffle that followed. The Commissioner of Police thereafter directed that he should be taken to the Police Medical Services, Owerri, where he would be accorded medical attention as a result of the attack. He has therefore been accorded adequate security cover to proceed on his other legitimate engagements for the day. The statement emphasizes the existence of a court injunction from the National Industrial Court of Nigeria holding in Owerri, with suit number NIC-OW/41/2023, dated 27th October 2023, barring the NLC from holding the intended protest rally in Owerri. The Commissioner of Police, Imo State Police Command, CP Mohammed Ahmed Barde, therefore urges all concerned parties to ensure compliance with the court directives so as to avoid jeopardizing the current security arrangements in Owerri and other parts of Imo State, even as the state gears up for the forthcoming electioneering process on 11th November 2023. On politics, the People's Democratic Party's Governors Forum and the immediate past Governor of Rivers State and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, have both applauded the bipartisan disposition of President Bola Tinubu in resolving the political crisis that erupted in Rivers State. This was at a mediation and reconciliation visit to the Minister of the FCT by members of the PDP Governors Forum in Abuja.
It's a family problem. It is resolved in the way that we least expected. We thank you and we continue to urge you to continue to be a mentor, to be a leader, not only of your state, but of our party, national issues, especially the most trusted person of Mr. President. We are proud of this dual and multi-purpose position that we have assumed.
President is our father. He has spoken. We'll see where he takes us. My conscience is clear. My conscience is clear. Nobody can rubbish me.
And that concludes the morning news. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Claire and Ademola after this break. I am Nolin Ebel Ame. Good morning.
The court has demonstrated in this visible commitment to rule of law and humanity, and their commitment to do justice for all Nigerians, regardless of ethnic, religious, or any other biases. So we use the strength of our diversity to build a stronger and prosperous Nigeria. And that's my belief.
You and your hair go through a lot. The heat, rain, chaos. It's a non-stop war against total breakdown. But just like you, your hair can stay strong no matter what. Mega Growth Break Free Daily Leave-In Strengthener for all hair types is infused with a unique blend of natural oils and conditioning proteins that helps protect your hair. Mega Growth Break Free, your daily defense against breakage.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths Let's build our nation together.
We are Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. We are political parties. We are the pathway to political power. IPAC, in line with its core mandate, is carrying out peer review mechanism for elected political office holders. Performance of the President of Nigeria, state governors, state and National Assembly members will be assessed comparatively. This will trigger healthy competition amongst our elected politicians to deliver dividends of democracy like good roads, good healthcare delivery system, good schools, full employment, security, and so on. This prestigious program will soon be shown live on television stations across Nigeria. IPAC, deepening and consolidating democracy.
Something new is about to hit your imagination of TV. A brand new sundial with StarTime's inbuilt technology. New TV innovation with an inbuilt decoder that connects you to both StarTime's antenna and satellite signal. StarTime Sundial TV, you can enjoy over 300 local and international channels, 1 month StarTime's highest bouquet for free, automatic system update. More benefits, more affordable. StarTimes Sundial TV is available in all StarTimes branches and dealers countrywide. StarTimes Inside, entertainment inbuilt.
You have to move from the point where you protect and defend your religion to a point where you also recognize the rights of the other person, of the other religion, and protect it. So if I am protecting my own territory and my own people and trying to emphasize their rights and protect their rights, I should also be thinking about how to protect the rights of the others.
Both Islam and Christianity recognize and defer to God, and both recognize the temporariness of the life of this world, and that ultimately we all go back to God for the day of reckoning, when everybody will render an account of his life on this temporary abode.
Reborn Marco Voice on the corner, through the utility on the way, second time of asking, touch it away.
High block defence, he worked so well with Harry Kane, and there's Leroy Sané to finish it off.
The pass now of Nico Schlotterbeck with a jet. Centre-backs don't score goals like that.
SportyBet sponsors coverage of the German Bundesliga.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service. It's time for us now to join Vivian Ezadife for some business news.
24 coastal nations in West and Central Africa are expected to converge in Lagos this November to discuss the role of ports in the African Continental Free Trade Area. The gathering is scheduled to hold from 6th to the 9th November 2023 with the theme, The Role of Ports in the African Continental Free Trade Area. The conference is a platform for the cross-fertilization of ideas, experiences and knowledge sharing to guide the formulation of necessary policies towards maximizing the maritime comparative advantage of the sub-region. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Exchange Group NGX All Shares Index crosses 70,000 points for the first time in the history of exchange. Let's take a look at Wednesday tradings on the floor of the exchange. With business news, Vivian Ezadife.
Many thanks, Vivian, for that business package. Next on the program is newspaper review.
Chukwudi Ugwaja is right here in the studio to do the newspaper review. Chooks the boy, good morning.
Hello.
I remove my glasses to see clearly. So why do I wear them? I don't know. Demola, good
to
morning.
see clearly.
So that you are speaking with Claire.
Oh, okay, fine. I remove the glasses so I can see Claire.
So you can stare Claire.
Thank you, Chugudi.
How are you, my brother?
Yes.
All right, you go first.
So let's begin with the blueprint, and there's just one story that is bound to dominate the front page of the papers, and I'm sure I'll be right. But the blueprint has its lead story as Tinubu to ministers and others with performance bond, deliver or quit. President says my government ready to take 50 million Nigerians out of poverty. And Hadiza Bala Usman heads results delivering unit and says nothing wrong borrowing for development. You can find out more about these stories and their writers on page 6. And World Bank spent $11 billion in Nigeria in 3 years. And that is, of course, the country director speaking there. It comes with the rider, better delivery desperately needed in Nigeria. That's according to the UK envoy. And trending at the foot of the paper, NGE 2023 conference excites and other corporate bodies and industry players. And of course, let me quickly take you above the nameplate. Imo, NLC President Ajero in protective custody, not arrested. Page 9. Again, NLC President Ajero in protective custody, not arrested. Tinubu seeks Senate's approval for $7.864 billion, 100 million euro loans. And of course, Israel-Palestine war, experts caution Nigerians against religious crisis. And let me quickly take the Punch newspaper. The Punch is towing another line for its headline. Court stops for Buharis removal. PDP governors consult Wiki. Details on that on page 14. And here are the writers. Nobody can intimidate me. Impeachment not a coup. FCT minister insists. Nobody can intimidate me. Impeachment not a coup. FCT minister insists. Crisis will be resolved, says Fubara. PDP governors plan Port Harcourt meeting. And now the picture story with the president, of course, at the minister's retreat yesterday. Perform or be sacked. Tinubu wants ministers during retreat. And reps probe 200 billion naira spent on postponed census. Reps probe 200 billion naira spent on postponed census. Details of that on page 9. And the sad story there, my daughter's boyfriend blackmailed her to commit suicide in UK. That's according to the father. That's a very sad story there. Now, tax-seeking gunmen kill 40 in UBA attacks. And finally, just above the nameplate, crude shortage delays Dangote refinery. 5 others take off. Crude shortage delays Dangote refinery and 5 others take off. Lack of supply to Dangote shameful, says FG. Minister blames low production. Details of that on pages 2 and 21. And as we said earlier, Tinubu is seeking $7.8 billion, 100 million euros fresh loans. All of this you can find on the front page of the Punch. Demola.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. I will start with the leadership newspapers. From above the nameplate, we have Wike has no hand in state assembly crisis. Rivers elders. That's on page 7. Ajero battles to save right eye in Imo hospital. Page 7 as well. The story can be gotten on page 7. Briefing, trending, police arrest 7 notorious criminals in Enugu. Numbers, 7,000 pharmacists immigrated from Nigeria in 2 years. All these stories can be gotten on page 2. And we have appeals. PDP lawmakers decry conflicting verdicts in Plateau State. The story is also on page 7. Perform or quit, Tinubu tells ministers. Page 4, Osun raid, EFCC bans sting operation at night. Also on page 7. Senate clears electoral officer smuggled through back door. That story is on page 20. Governor Eno. Corporate bodies excited over editors' conference. That story is also on page 20. Federal government budgets 33 billion for presidential yachts, vehicles, computers, and others. The story is on page 4. We have supplementary budgets of 2.177 trillion, and so many other story on that front page. Now, moving on to the nation newspapers. Above the nameplate, we have Ajero held to protect him, says police. NLC, he was attacked. The story is on page 5. President seeks lawmakers not to borrow $7 billion, 100 million euros. The story is on page 6. Dust over rec nominees. Substitution in Senate. EFCC changes tactics over suspect passport seizure. Both stories can be found on page 4 and page 6. Bayelsa Imo Kogi 2023. Elections won't hold in 40 polling units. Kogi Central no-go area. Diri Silva camps clash over allegations of violence. Thuggery. Re-elect Uzodinma. First Lady urges Imo women. The story is on page 28. Perform or get sacked. President warns ministers. Resort delivery unit to periodically assess functionaries' performance. The story is also on page 4. And we move on down the front page. We have stock market 7,000 points set new record. Page 4, rift with Wike over soon, says Fubara. Minister is not about money. Rivers elders urge for caution. The call for caution. The story is also on page 4. And the picture, the frontline picture there, we have the president, that is House of Representative Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, President Tinubu, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, Head of Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemieso, and All Progressive Congress National Chairman, Abdullahi Ganduje, yesterday. Chooks, over to you.
Oh, Demola, thank you so much. So many things to say, so I'm going to be a bit quick about each of these items. Tinubu to ministers, perform or be sacked. You know, that's not exactly how he said it, but then we would couch our headlines so that Demola and Claire would always be attracted, you know, to read. Whatever it is, the important thing is that
But he says something like that.
Yeah, very close. Something you either or you leave us.
It's either
something
you
about
perform
or you leave us.
Or you don't perform.
Yes.
If you don't perform well, we review your contract.
A review, that's the first one.
Then if you do not perform at all, we'll show you the way out.
We leave you.
You leave us.
You leave us. You leave us. I remember that word. But editors would always choose the word they want to sell the newspaper with. You know, that's a very good one. Why do I say this? When people get appointed and they have this feeling that their share of the national cake has finally dropped from heaven, and that whether they throw in good effort or not, they're going to stay there, it spells doom for the country. Yes, I'm deliberately using that word doom. The former president, one of my friends said, as much as he liked the former president's discipline, that's President Muhammadu Buhari, you just had this feeling that people could, they felt they had job security anytime the president appointed them. It might not be a fair comment on the former president, but that was a sentiment some people had. So the incumbent is speaking the way he should speak. Getting a government appointment is not opportunity for laziness or indolence to be rewarded. You understand?
It's for service.
So it's very important, you know, and a lot of things need to be done to improve the lives of the people, because the Nigerians are really in dire straits over many things. Now, this interest. Okay. Sorry.
Yes, I don't know whether to use the word the appointment or the selection or nomination of Hadiza Bala Usman to head the delivery unit. It's also another pointer that somehow might be in the era of more words and less, more action and less words.
Accountability.
Accountability. Because Hadiza Bala Usman is a woman, that has proven her mettle.
Yes.
I do know that she's one of those that have been found to have high capacity for, diligence.
Yeah, frank and diligent. That's what she's always been.
Yes, diligence. So that again, underscores, the importance of this, so that we don't take it on the surface as the usual thing, that leaders speak, because we also heard the same thing or similar thing, during the last dispensation. Like you said, a lot of people take it for granted, when they come in, they begin to study, you study the books, you study the books, and before you know it, your time is up. And then you don't get to do, this is a period, Demola, very critical period in our development.
Mm-hmm.
We've passed through COVID, we've passed through economic, downturns, we've managed to stay afloat. So a lot is, expected from the ministers,
yes,
especially with infrastructure development and putting back our economy back, in the right, yes, and giving value to the naira.
That's
so
it.
I think this gladdens my heart, and with the pedigree of the president, knowing him to be,
that's a good
he
one.
doesn't speak for. He's not a man who speaks from
he
the side of the
doesn't
mouth.
suffer fools gladly.
Precisely.
And remember,
precisely,
I think President Ahmed Bola Tinubu has this feeling. It goes beyond the feeling that when people under him do not perform, he's the one who carries the can at the end of the day. So he must do everything necessary to make sure that the reputation is held intact. It's completely in order. Interesting one about Joe Ejire, that's the NLC president, held to protect him. That sounds to me like something you need to investigate further. Because the account here is that those who attacked him were composed of thugs and people they call policemen. So if policemen were part of what the people they suspect, let's say you suspect.
Actually, the police released a press release.
Yes.
And stating what actually happened, that he was mobbed, and in order to protect him, they had to whisk him away and put him in the police custody to protect him for further assaults. And when they noticed that he was heavily brutalized, they had to take him to the hospital for treatment.
Yes.
I guess the police was just trying to do their work, trying to ensure that there is peace and security in the state. The election is coming next week,
yes,
and they have to ensure that there is enough security in order not to deter people from coming out to vote.
Yes. There's nothing wrong. Protective custody is real, and sometimes, of course, it is to your benefit as the person who is in the eye of the storm. But let's pray that we don't have different accounts coming up in
precisely what I want to say is the world between the police and members of the NLC, because we are hearing conflicting reports as to what happened.
That's the point.
None of us was there to know what exactly happened. I know that.
So we can't be categorical.
Exactly.
We can only advise.
We can only advise.
You understand?
And Chukwudi, yesterday, just before we go, I think we have less than a minute.
Okay.
Yesterday, I think we touched on something about short our production capacity and why Dangote Refinery and others have yet. You see, today the Punch is reporting that Dangote is saying crude shortage.
Yes.
Is the reason for the delay of the refineries. And again, this brings to the fore the fact that we must do something urgent is needed, to ensure that these refineries, take off.
Yes, the refineries take off, but maybe the first thing to do, or rather continue to do, is to ensure that we get at least 3/4 of what we pull from the earth going into federal coffers. Pilfering is a major problem in Nigeria. Yeah. Remember moving from 1.6 to 1.7, 1.7 to 1.8, we got to 1.9. We are vacillating, in between figures. So we need to do all that. Yeah. And again, I have to say that one would have said, why you are exporting crude? Why don't you give the crude to him so he can start? And maybe that could even drop prices a bit of refined products and all that. Remember, there is such a thing as contractual obligations. If you have said, for instance, I'm giving Venezuela, I'm just making up that name, I'm giving Egypt this amount of crude, you must obey the contract. So it's not as simple as let's reduce what...
Yes, but your national interest.
Yes.
The Constitution emphasizes on your national interest first.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that to become a pariah because you want to...
No. Chukwudi, the fundamental priority of any country is your national interest.
I agree.
And then others. So you must satisfy, the needs of your country, at least meet the needs of your country.
If you have a contractual agreement on the ground, international law requires you to obey it. So
I'm not doubting that.
Anyway, let's just cut.
Yes, I'm not doubting that. And just a minute,
Demola. We need to take a break
Demola,
now.
just a moment, please.
No time.
Just a moment. The Dangote refinery is a 650,000 barrels per day capacity barrels per day refinery. And it needs crude to start. So we must consider that in everything that we do.
You don't give them crude the crude way.
Thank you, Chooks. Thank you, Chooks.
Thank you
for coming on Good Morning Nigeria this morning.
Always a joy to be with you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll now take a break. Good Morning Nigeria continues. Stay with us.
Just strengthen my resolve to do more. A challenge of this nature and a future of this nature is more work and more hard work, more dedication. And just appeal to the sense of patriotism of Nigeria to have a change of mindset. Let us be positive about our country, be ready to contribute in all ways possible. There's no promise of El Dorado from day one. We're all in this boat of diversity, a member of the same family, living in the same house, but staying in different rooms. And it is important that we recognize that we have no other country but this one.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Those who desire to upskill their skills and remain relevant in their organization can fulfill their desire through the following training programs specially packaged by NTA Television College, JOS. Audio Engineering, Operation and Maintenance. Date 3rd October to 13th October 2023. 2 weeks. Photojournalism and Photography. Date 16th October to 3rd November 2023. 3 weeks. Advanced Broadcast Accounting and Auditing. Date 6th November to 17th November 2023. 2 weeks. Television Graphics Design and Presentation. Date 6th November to 24th November 2023. 3 weeks. Managing the Boss. Date 27th November to 1st December 2023. 1 week. Advanced Protocol, Event Management and Public Relations. Date 27th November to 8th December 2023. 2 weeks. Parliamentary Reporting and Management. Date 27th November to 8th December 2023. 2 weeks. The course fee for the 3-week course is 150,000 naira per participant. The fee for the 2-week course is 120,000 naira, while the course fee for the 1-week course is 100,000 naira only, accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA Television College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0803 079 5335 or 0806 980 9807. NTA Television College, Jos, training you to be the best you want to be.
Nigeria means a lot to me.
And Nigeria means peaceful cohesion.
My country.
We continue to pray, and then hopefully we will come to understand that unity of purpose, unity of living together.
Our ethnic beliefs and background and culture is our strength.
Ever since the amalgamation period of 1914 to date, about 109 years ago, the people of Nigeria live very peacefully with one another.
I think diversity helps a lot to enhance robust development in Nigeria.
All over the country, you have so many ethnic groups, over 250. That is enough to tell you that this is a blessed country, and God has kept together as one indivisible entity.
You're welcome back. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. Before we begin our conversation this morning on managing elections in Nigeria, let's take this background report by Ibrahim Dan Hamidu to set the tone for the discussion.
The upcoming governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states have garnered significant attention and anticipation across the nation. These elections are not only crucial for the political landscape, but also for the overall peace and stability in Nigeria. As such, various measures are being taken to manage the elections effectively and ensure a peaceful democratic process. The Independent National Electoral Commission, the body responsible for conducting elections in Nigeria, has reiterated its commitment to organizing free, fair, and credible elections. INEC has established plans and protocols to address key areas of concern and ensure the smooth running of the electoral process. One of the primary measures being taken is the deployment of adequate security personnel. The Nigerian police force, in collaboration with other security agencies, will be stationed at polling units and strategic locations to maintain law and order. Their presence will deter potential disruptors and instill confidence in voters to exercise their democratic rights freely. To enhance transparency and minimize electoral malpractices, INEC has also invested in the use of technology. The deployment of electoral voting machines and the biometric verification of voters will help streamline the voting process, reduce human errors, and facilitate real-time results collation. This approach ensures a more efficient and credible electoral process. It is crucial for all stakeholders, including political parties, candidates, and voters, to play their respective roles in ensuring the integrity of the elections. By supporting these measures and upholding the principles of democracy and peaceful coexistence, Nigeria can achieve another milestone in its democratic journey. In light of the aforementioned countermeasures, how will the participations for the elections subdue electoral malpractices and ensure violent and dubious tendencies won't mar the whole process? This and more questions will be discussed by guests on Good Morning Nigeria shortly.
All right, Hamidu there, bringing us the background report to start our conversation. And our guests are already in the studio. My first guest needs little or no introduction. Once you see him, you know what he represents. But if you are just joining us for the first time, Ezen Wanwago is Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms, and he is also convener, Say No Campaign, Nigeria. Of course, He was here with us some weeks ago on the program.
Just last week.
Last week.
Yeah, Claire.
They were good to see you. It's been quite a while.
Yeah, the one that was not here last week. Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. And
also, Claire, let me just join you to introduce other guest here in the studio. Is Hamzat Lawal. Is a co-convener Not Too Young to Run movement. He's also the Chief Executive, Connected Development. Quote, it is a pleasure to have you join us for this conversation this morning.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Okay, let me throw the first question to Ezenwa, as usual. You know, the off-cycle election is just about 8 days now. This next week, Saturday. And how would you describe the state of Nigeria's electoral process with regards to the conduct of all the actors? When I say the actors, we're talking about the parties, the politicians, the INEC, and the voters themselves. How would you describe their...
Thank you. I think you've premised, this is the first time anyone is premising conversations on the election with a stakeholder mindset. Many times, those who engage election from the point of INEC. What has INEC? And then you conclude the conversation talking about just someone who sits at the topmost pyramid of the election stakeholdership. And then you give comfort, like I always say, to the guys who are the real, challenge for free, fair, credible elections. INEC plays very pivotal role, no contention about that. But the political parties and their candidates are the ones who are in this thing. It's their theater.
Yeah.
They are the ones playing. What other people do is to help them, put them together. So majorly for me always is to say that the INEC officials constitutionally mandated to conduct elections will do what they have to do. What will they do? They will do voter registration, they would clean up the register, they will call for people to come and check, they would oversee the conduct of the primaries by the political parties, and then on E-Day, they set up.
Okay.
They set up. Mm-hmm. So they are there waiting for the voters. Now the voters, the political parties and their candidates play with all of these people. They play with the voters, they play with the electoral management body and the security who provide security for everybody to do this. So the role of these political parties and their candidates have much more to do with whether you have free, fair, credible, acceptable, inclusive election. And that's why I said I was excited that you premised the conversation with a stakeholder mindset. So the way we have gone is that we have scaled up the medias and civil society. Our contribution have incrementally improved this process.
Okay.
But the voters are becoming more aware and conscious. The security agents are a bit, even if you follow 2019, 2023, you see also some realignment in terms of that brazen security conduct that misconduct and professional misconduct that we used to see is reducing. The only people that have continued to be absent from conversations about reform are the politicians and their candidates.
Why?
Thank you. Before you answer that question, I know you want to digest it first. Yes. Okay. Let's also set the stage and try and contextualize the conversation, and that's how to manage elections. We have 2027 elections coming, and of course the off-cycle elections coming up. In a few weeks, time. Can we, Hamza? Can we put our hands on the very recurring and problematic issues? Now, maybe we now look at it from, as someone said, from the stakeholder perspective, from the people and the party.
Well, I think the people don't have problem. Even when you look at if we want to take lessons from the 2023 general elections, everybody was ready for that election except the politicians. Every other person was ready, and it was obvious. But I think that as we go into the off-season election and the opportunity that avails us as we go into 2027 election, I think maybe we should reflect and expand how we engage with these politicians and their political parties. I think that most importantly also is to get INEC to broaden this engagement, because as civil society we also have our limitations. As much as we engage, as much as we raise awareness and get citizens to come out to cast their ballot, we cannot take the role of government institutions. So I think that yes, we've made some significant progress, but there are still gaps, and these gaps have opened up debate for opportunities and how we also engage the 10th National Assembly on the kind of reform we want to see, and maybe also engage the political parties and the politicians on the kind of reform we want to see. Because if this reform are put in place, then we don't have to go to court and have judiciary proclaim who becomes winner, because this puts a dent in our democracy when the ballot is not deciding who becomes the winner, and then we have to go to court to seek redress. But I think by and large, this also dents or put a dent on national security, because you see today you have non-state actors who are heavily armed, protected by people in authority or place of authority, because when you look at the reports from Bayelsa, from Imo and Kogi, it's worrisome. And just what happened yesterday to the NLC president, it is really worrisome. And I think the politician needs to, they need to stop heating up the politics. It's not a do or die affair. If you've done your homework, then you don't have to create chaos or some sense of chaos so that you intimidate people and the electorate so they don't come out to cast their ballot. So, and I'm really glad that INEC is engaging, National Security Advisor and all the security apparatus. Since this is an off-season election, for me, I'm confident because they can deploy as many men as possible and respond, to whatever incident that might occur. And also we have accredited observers. We are deploying people in these 3 states and setting up a situation room that becomes a hub and monitor real life situation analysis and provide feedback to security, media and our civil society partners. But I think there are opportunities here and it gives hope.
Okay. So because
you still want to? Okay. Go ahead.
Please go ahead, Demola.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Because as sort of not totally exonerating INEC, from issues of election management, but said INEC will do what it has to do. Does it mean that within the electoral process, INEC has not been found wanting, in terms of fulfilling its own mandate? Because there have been instances where some people have said, look, there are certain areas where INEC ought to have taken charge, and maybe because of gaps in Electoral Act, it couldn't.
No, I think when you look at the 2022 Electoral Act, it sort of gave INEC all the needed legal and regulatory framework. And when you also look at INEC's guideline, it was really clear and it was robust because there was a lot of engagement with different actors. So I would want to go back to maybe 2007 to 2011, 2015 elections. So when you look at 2011 elections, and then when you look at elections of 2015, 2019, 2023, we've made progress. We've introduced technology, unlike before where, people who are not even on the register, can cast their ballot and it counts. So now we've find a way to filter through our register and have something that brings about that confidence. And come to think of it, when we went into the 2023 election, INEC have never enjoyed public support like that elections. Yes, there were some gaps, but I think that we should reflect and go back memory lane where we're coming from and where we are today. But we also saw that logistically, that's one of the biggest nightmare for INEC, because, I was on the field. I went to different local government engaging INEC officials on the field, and also going to rack centers, you know, observing how they move sensitive materials and non-sensitive materials. So, but logistically, that's where they have their gap. And when I say logistically, moving of these sensitive materials, you know, training their staff, retraining their staff, and response time when there is a failure of equipment. How much time do they respond? Because these are the issues that get citizens apprehended. So I think that, yes, they've not done well in terms of logistic, but I think this off-season election, there will be no room not to actually meet all of this or try to close all of this gap, because just 3 elections and in 3 different states, you know, in 3 different regions. So again, they should be able to mobilize in good time and train, you know, their staffs and officials. But when you look at where we're coming from, we've made progress. But I think 2027, you know, we would build on those progresses. One, to curb the, you know, from experience, what were those lapses during 2023 and how we can also go back to the 10th Assembly and say, okay, this is where we need an amendment, and then look at INEC and say, beyond the amendment, your guidelines, you know, it needs, you know, to be more robust and more inclusive, because by and large, what we want to do is build public confidence so that we enjoy public support, not only as civil society, but also government institutions like INEC. Because when you do that, that mistrust that's in society, we roll back on it, and, you know, there's trust in the entire process, and we don't have to always go to court.
Thank you very much, Hamzat, for your thoughts on the building public confidence in our electoral process. You know, Ezenwa, you were speaking on the roles of the actors, and you were going to elaborate more, especially the roles that politicians and the parties, they play in the electoral process. And let's look at also the issue of voter intimidation, violence during elections. I mean, the voter education, and also the role of influencers, traditional rulers, religious leaders, and all that. How can they help, you know, in correcting some of the anomalies, and also to reduce the voter apathy, you know, in this coming election?
Well, I would, Demola, if you permit, I want to beat back a bit on what my brother Hamzat talked about, and because it's very deep in public consciousness and commentary. This thing about confidence, public confidence in institutions. An institution like INEC will have to suffer at every point in time, because it's a referee in a competitive enterprise, and the kind of competition in Nigeria is not one in which people want to win by fair means. So the umpire must always get a big backlash, whichever way. So it's very important to always situate that, because when we do that, we always want to give the impression that public confidence will, if you lose election, there is nothing INEC did that is good. If you win, even when you had dubious advantage, INEC was the best thing that has happened to the world.
Actually, sorry to interject. I think the last election, why INEC had so much backlash was because of this electronic transfer of.
No, I'm coming. It's not just. We need to look at the environment in which we conducted 2023 election.
Yeah,
it was an environment of anger. Anger with decolorization. What did we call it? Decolorization of the naira. Fuel scarcity, insecurity at its very deep point. That's where we went into that election. Now, in doing this, is also to inspire this confidence, because education helps to clear this fog. Because if it is not cleared, the public narrative continues to give the impression that no progress was made. How many activities did INEC conduct in the electoral process? It's important to go through all that and say, if you did voter registration and added 10 10 million people thereabouts into your voter register. That's some progress, right? Then the reports of Code, Yaga, everybody says Beavers performed 98%. What is Beavers? Now, Beavers was meant to take away voter identification theft. Kano registered close to 7 million people. Kano was not able to do 2 million. Lagos registered 6 million. Lagos was not able to do 2 million. Rivers registered 3 million plus. Rivers was not able to do 1.5 million people in this last election. And beating back to where he was talking about 2007, 2011, you knew that the results of these 3 states I mentioned will never come until other results have come. What does that tell you? So in this very election, you have big pockets, party bigwigs, governors lose election in their own states. Chairman of the political party loses his constituency to opposition political parties. What then is competitive election? What is competitive election? So I needed to always situate that, because people say, oh, you defend INEC. It's not about the defense of INEC. It's about people understanding that as an institution, the real crisis for us is the attitude of the politicians. We are going to the National Assembly. We have 10 recs who have been sent to them to screen and approve. We've brought evidence, clean evidence, incontrovertible evidence that some of the people that we are going to be screening are partisan people. And you screen them. The political parties, opposition political parties, kept quiet. Not a whimper anywhere from any of the opposition political parties. They allowed that to go through. We raised it in 2019. We fought very hard. We were in this studio together challenging that, oh, some partisan people, you saw what happened in Adamawa. You saw what happened. Those things that we highlighted played out. Now, when you create and intimidate institutions through the process of appointment into those institutions, the outcome that we are going to get cannot be different. So when we keep quiet, all of us keep quiet, we allow that perfidy, we allow that impunity to go. When we start reaping the repercussions, we will find a fall guy. And that's what we always do. We find that fall guy, heap all the blame on them, and say, oh, you know, if they had done this, if they didn't do that, this wouldn't have happened. But look at the foundation. The foundation is where we are now. Recruitment.
The issue you
yes,
okay, he has not even.
Again, look at the issue of court cases, because I was saying I'm beating back on.
Yes, I didn't want you to enter the court case, because I know you are going there. You conclude. I just want to ask a question on this issue of, you know, partisan and going to the National Assembly. Now, part of the Electoral Act, you know, provides that such issues are raised, and you know, the public notified when you find a gap in the either in the quality or character or paper presented by a candidate, and you raise it. Now that the National Assembly, you know, probably failed to take cognizance of your observations, what should happen in that instance?
We're going to go to court. We're going to go to court. We will challenge that in court. You see, the reason we do this is just look at that process. You screen them in plenary. I mean, and then what was the process? Oh, this man has worked for the country. Bam, he's gone. There is a petition. We swore to an affidavit. We sent it to the chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Act. The last time you brought the chairman of the Senate Committee on this same issue, pitched both of us in this studio, and he said that the reason they cleared those people was because we did not come with an affidavit. He said it in this studio, that if we had come with that, they would have. Now we went and swore to an affidavit and pointed 3 clear people who we know. One of them, a close ally of the leadership of the Senate. And they cleared that man. You know, but that's not my worry. Clearing is not a problem for me. The problem that I have is that those who are the players, those who should lead this fight.
Yes.
It's just like the fight in Imo, for instance, where the labor leader is talking about lack of salaries and pension. And there's a labor party in that state. It did not come for the protest. It didn't come out. So they outsource completely. They outsource the responsibility of engaging these institutions to us. Then the issue of court cases. Look at what he was talking about, you know, the court deciding. About 700 cases are in court as we speak. Who has bothered to find out whether those cases have to do with the conduct of the 2023 election? Majority of them have to do with the activities of the political parties. Internal party findings. And so, when you hear that 700 cases are in court, people are challenging matters in court, what do you say? You say INEC, because you wouldn't bother to find out why the person is in court. Now, should people not go to court? Is going to court not part of our electoral process? Judicial oversight is the end point, because election is a law-guided process. It is every step in the electoral process is guided by law. So, if there is an infraction, where do you go to? Who interprets it? Who tells you whether you have done the right thing? Whether you have substantially complied? Because we demonize in some way this whole process that, you know, if somebody goes to court, it impugns on the credibility of the election. It's not true. It does not impugn on the, if anything, it enhances the integrity of the electoral process in my view. Because if me and Hamza are contesting election and there is a law that guides us, and I win or he wins me, if he wins me, I go to court. He does not go to court. The winner does not go to court. I'm the one to go to court to say I'm not satisfied with. So we call a third party who says, okay, you won fairly and squarely. Once that is done, he will say judiciary is the last hope of the common man. If the judgment is against, comes to be, I will say, oh, thank God, the judiciary is. So we cannot leave arbitration and resolution in the electoral process that is guided by law to option AK-47. We can't do that.
Okay, thank you very much, Ezenwa, for speaking passionately about what you love to do. Now, let's move to Hamzat. I asked Ezenwa one question which he was not able to answer, but he talked on so many other things. And one of the things he talked about was that the number of voters registered in some states, like in Lagos, over 6 million, in Kano, over 7 million, in Port Harcourt, over 3 million, and we have less, not even 1/3 coming out to vote. That is voter apathy. And this is as a result of voters' intimidation, violence, and all that. And this, how do we address this challenge? How can we, because right now there's so much violence going on in some of these states, in Kogi, and we have reports from Imo and all that. So how do we address this challenge? What can be done?
First, you don't play politics with security, because when you play politics with security, then they will be violent. There will be insecurity, and you know there will be so many interference by non-state actors. So first, you take away politics completely from security. Second is to disarm these non-state actors, because you see, let's tell ourselves the truth and let's speak reality. Most of the so-called public officials are more comfortable to use thugs than use or engage security apparatus. Because when we deployed, you know, pre-election observers to follow some of these candidates for their political rally, so we can document the promises they're making to electorates and the Nigerian people, so we can hold them to account. Over 80% of most of their entourage are thugs, carrying arms. And then by their side, you'll see uniformed personnel. And then you wonder, why can't they disarm these people and arrest them for carrying arms? and they're carrying weapons. Not
already that is intimidation, intimidating the voters and also the opponents.
But these are people in office that are doing this, also being observed by security personnel. So again, you know, you engage these people. What do you expect? You think that they will just keep these arms at home at night and leave everybody to be peaceful? So again, I think that, you know, we need to really, you know, nip this by the bud. These government officials that are engaging non-state actors and thugs and you know, providing them with this arm. And another thing that plays a role here is substance abuse. You see these thugs, they're not in their right mindset. See, I've seen a politician's budget, and there's a budget line to buy substance. I don't want to mention the specific substance, but there's a budget in their budget for campaign rally before elections and on election day to buy substance and give these so-called thugs so that they don't think like you and I and engage when they are commanded to. So this has played a big role, and this has also affected how we tackle insecurity, because the maintenance we're struggling with now is substance abuse. Practically, when you look at 10 households, 5 to 6 of them, you have a family member who is dealing with substance abuse. And how are these products moving, you know, from north to south, south to west? And we have NDLEA station in all our major roads. How are they moving around? So, and this also tells you how money plays a role in politics. Because what we now have are money bags who think they can have their ways. And it's obvious. That's why you have abandoned projects. That's why you have inflation in contracts. And then you have budgets that are not realistic. You know, I think
also using of state apparatus to fight, you know, for politics.
All right, let's bring into our conversation NLB. She's joining us via Zoom, and NLB is a well-known gender activist. She's also the immediate past country director, Action Aid. NLB, thank you for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, let me quickly ask you to give us your take on what you think are the fundamental and recurring issues that surround election management. And also, we've been talking about election integrity, which is consequent upon the role played by election management bodies. Politicians are bound to go to court, you know, sometimes due to whether they win or lose, and that puts a lot of pressure on the judicial system, on the courts, and also, you know, compromises their ethic foundation. How might we reduce this plethora of litigations, pre-election litigations, going into, you know, the off-cycle elections and 2027?
Thank you very much for having me. Some of the things that we need to look at when you are looking at election generally, you know, we have an electoral body that is charged with managing elections. We also have other actors. We have several actors in the management of election. When you are looking at the electoral integrity, a lot of people are going to court. When you say people go to court now, we know that it means the electoral body has given up on itself. Because what brought about, you know, some of the leaders we have today is the issue of going to court. But did they win the election or not? Do they qualify to have won that election? What is the integrity level of the processes? Because from the civil society, we are not bothered about the person who wins, because all of them are Nigerians. They qualify to start as long as you can vote and be voted. You know, you've gotten to that age, then you qualify to go for elections. But we are having situations where people have qualified, they have voted. We believe that the processes that make somebody to come into election, you know, to a position of authority is very, very important. And that is why the civil society will work and deploy and monitor. You know, you need to know the stress level that it takes us to deploy, observers. And also how we try to raise funds. You know, some of our colleagues said they have talked about, you know, the issues of the political parties. Who are those who are responsible to for the political education, creating awareness for even their voters. The political parties have their own responsibility on civic education. This last election, they got so much money. Look at the bands for nomination forms. What have they done with that money? INEC as a body ought to check them. We don't know what has happened. They have to be held accountable for what they do with that money. INEC as a body also ought to have done political education. And INEC, until we're going into this last general election, there was very little. The off-cycle elections had some, a few places here and there, they carried political education. But we have a lot of bodies. We also have the National Orientation Agency that needs to carry out, a lot of education. I think for the first time, we had the police that did some election security management training, and the trainings were really, really a high caliber, which they train people around the country. That's a positive angle. And then you come to talking about going to court. We have seen what court is. I think a lot of us in the civil society, I was very shocked. When we want to see a system that makes more pronouncement, INEC is the one that is charged with pronouncing people as winners, not the courts, because like you said, you are overburdening INEC, and you have no right to do that. INEC was giving a lot of money for the election, for this past election. They will be held accountable, of course. But what have they done with the money in all of the processes? And now you say go to court. Should the court be the people that should be arranging elections for Nigeria? I think these are some of the critical things. Look at what they did in Imo, and look at what is happening in Imo today. Imo, it was a person who was number 4. The court declared him winner. And we have the results today. For the very first time, the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress was being arrested and manhandled in a civilian regime. It has never happened before. And that's some of the results of go to court. And now you come to the 2023 general election. Why not allow the people's vote to count? All we wanted is count the votes, anybody who wins. And then the court will be singing with water in their mouth. You talk about FCT, for example, with the 25%, which they talked about. Somebody did not win, that FCT, you say, and you start misinterpreting the law as if all of us are not Nigerians. So going to court that you're talking about is a different thing. But at least we are looking at, there is some positive, like having Natasha. Natasha from Kogi State, if you see what she went through in going to, so we're looking at women participation in politics as well, the kind of violence that was admitted to her, but at least the court has given her victory. That's a token. But, in all of it, we work for a better Nigeria. We think that in a democratic environment, we should be able to use the process of elections to change our own, to change the process of governance. Governance is important for the people. We are not giving up, but I can tell you that the performance of INEC was so disappointing that, I feel it's a betrayal, because we worked to them till the very election. The system that we were told was going to work, because of issue of transparency and accountability. If you are able to show the results as they're coming in, Yaga Ezede is a board member of Yaga, you know the details that they work. I'm happy that code is represented. My brother Hamza is there. We will follow the money they spend. In each of those things, we have to strategize to follow the money. Make sure that INEC or even the security agencies are able to account for themselves. We are going into off-cycle election now. We hope that the process will be more transparent. And what we are saying is allow, the Beavers was meant to do transmission and also meant to, do accreditation. But when they want, the law can be bent. The INEC guideline had a gap in it, and I think too much powers was given to INEC by allowing them to prescribe which is the best way to, when they have already quoted and we have all talked about the process of accreditation, the technology that was going to use the Beavers in all the other off-cycle election. By 9 p.m., we had all the decisions uploaded. But we come to general election, nothing was wrong with the National Assembly record, and then for the presidential, you say you cannot transmit because some people, and that's why I say INEC should not be trusted, because it's not the INEC people themselves, but the political affiliation. You have now seen that APC card-carrying members are now being cleared by the National Assembly. to go ahead, which is against the Constitution. You have to be non-partisan to be, to be sworn in as either a rec or a national, commissioner. But what we're having is a different thing. And the current administration ought to accept, just like President Yaradua accepted, that there was a flaw in the election that brought him in. But the current administration, Tinubu has not accepted that there was anything wrong with the electoral system. He needs to accept for us to move forward. We respect constituent authority, and that's why everything is silent, but they shouldn't take it for granted. They need to make amends and apologize again for some of the things they have done wrong. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam NLB, for that, your contributions there. But I'd like to state clearly that concerning the NLC president, there are conflicting reports actually, and the police is saying that they are keeping him for safety, not that they arrested him, but the report is conflicting. But Ezenwa, I want to ask a question, but before I ask the question, I want you to respond to some of the issues that she raised there, especially concerning the role of INEC in the elections. Do you totally agree with all that she said?
No, my position has been very clear on this, and I don't need to, keep rehashing this. I think I do not agree, and it's been very clear that I don't agree with that position. I think that INEC played its own role. It had challenges, and those challenges have come to the fore. But I have always stayed on the positives. And the reason I stay on the positives is that there are processes in the electoral process. And some of those processes went very well until we got to this issue of uploading of results to the server. And my understanding of that process is that we venerate the checker. We are over-venerating the checker. That's my understanding. That we over-venerate the checker. I think that sometimes it is because of discomfort that I tell you that we give to the politicians. My understanding is that the transmission of results ends at the polling unit when Form EC8A has been handed over to the party agents, the security agents, and INEC, and other interested. And the Form E60E, which is the people's result sheet, has been pasted. The remaining activity is for increasing, result management integrity. It does not in any way vitiate the fact that results have been concluded and posted, which means that if a political party, for instance, has its own parallel vote tabulation, which is what Yaga does, for instance, the PVT, and the PVT is not the birthright of Yaga or NDI or anybody can do PVT. So that result from your party agent can help you to compute. When you go to the next level, if there are discrepancies, you can then go to the IREV to see whether there are discrepancies. But if there are no discrepancies, for instance, what came from the polling unit is what is being collated at the ward level, at the state level, you do not need that checker. That's what I call it. I call it a checker. And so the understanding may vary, but the courts have also come to say, which is, like I said, is an integral part of the electoral process. We cannot take away the judiciary. It's been implanted into the electoral process as the adjudicator. So when you take it aside, and then you are the final on that, I am saying this is what my position is. Hamza is saying this is what he thinks this is. Then the Supreme Court says this is what the law says. And in our understanding, the Supreme Court is the final.
Is the Supreme.
Is the Supreme. Now, whether I am right or wrong is not a personal thing. It's all about pushing our arguments in a way that brings education. So and there is no claim to rightness that, oh, what you have said is right. But if you understand this process very well, as far as I'm concerned, result management ended at the polling unit where the party agents and the security have collected those results. If they are not able to do, and look at the court processes, if you followed it the way we did, you will see that the politicians, and that is where I have stayed, who went into this election did not come with witnesses. I think that was one thing that we are trying to push under the table. They were the ones who for which we conducted this election. Now, Yaga is released, Code, I think also, released pre-election observation report. You talked about the spread of these political parties. INEC has a data where it talked about the number of party agents these political parties have. How many of them were available in the polling units to pick the results? If there was no transparency, we would have had a situation in which it would have been said that APC candidates in Niger, where SDP won they were not giving the result sheet. That's what is lack of transparency, or that they could not collect the result sheets. But they did collect the result sheets where they have party agents. And the relationship between the parties and their agents is transactional. So oftentimes when they collect these results, rather than feeding back to their principals, immediately after election, they take both results and everything and go away. When you then need to go to court, you start looking for extraneous professors of mathematics and statisticians.
But it's found out that most of these polling party agents that he used are not really party card-carrying members of the party.
How am I responsible for that? If as a party you cannot,
whoever you present as your party agent,
they just pick people,
and we've observed the election in Olamaburu, for instance, and party agents were colluding. As observers, it's not our responsibility. We were just supposed to. But I overstepped my bounds and I went and said, you guys, are you not seeing what is going on? And they said, no, we agreed. They said we agreed.
Okay, so
the point that I'm making is that it's not about understanding the process. There are issues around INEC's challenges, which Hamza had flogged, and we have overflogged it.
Okay.
The perennial, and I think we need to say it because of the obstacle. The perennial issue of logistics. And now the biggest crisis is that the NURTW, which is the vendor, transport vendor for INEC, at their national level, they are embroiled in a crisis. Okay, they are embroiled in a crisis. So who is going to oversee the state chapters where this will be going on? There are issues of marine transportation in places like Bayelsa, in Kogi also, and even in Imo. So the issue of logistics may still be a challenge for this
off-cycle
election. The issue again of INEC officials, security agents not deploying when they should deploy to certain places, and I hope they don't do voter suppression and the rest of it. So those are some of the issues
the essence for this conversation is to gather from your wealth of experience how that also can be managed going forward, because these are issues that have remained kept coming up and up again within every electoral cycle. When we come back, we will be looking at how what are the things that needs to be done now, from both of you, and of course from Madam Ene Ubi. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Don't go away. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
Our commitment to the values, the creed of dedication, patriotism, and commitment to the value of this country, it is extremely important that we have a change of mindset for the sake of our country. not for us, but for our children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, the inheritors of tomorrow.
All right, welcome back, and you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Now, let's bring in NLB into our conversation. And if we look at the electoral, processes, right from the Congress level to the convention, primaries, and then the major elections, you discover that politicians, tend to behave in a very predatory manner, and that's because of the desperation to win the elections at all costs. And, sometimes that, leaves us with candidates that, let's say candidates with the least intelligence, coming out to vie for positions. How can we get party hierarchy to review, the quality of people they throw up? Because going forward, if we continue to field in, people of, questionable character or whatever, we'll end up having cases in court, and the problem of election will continue.
I think we have lost NLB there, so maybe you just throw your question.
Yes, maybe Hamza, Yes, I asked the question about parties. Okay.
Oh.
All right. NLB, did you hear my question?
I heard towards the tail end. Can you? That's about the quality.
Yes. So what can be done to get political parties to overhaul their party hierarchy such that this mentality of predative manner in which they approach politics or elections, it's done away with?
Yeah, I think a lot of things can be done. The issue of the quality of the political parties, or let me say the quality of citizenship. I'm listening to the current president, talking about the values of Nigeria, how they pledge to the values of Nigeria. How can he really be talking of the values? He said he wants them to change their orientation, the value system. You see, they were all sworn in, and I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest. What level of honesty and loyalty do the political class, what do they have? And then you are looking at also the former president of Nigeria, that's General Babangida, was also talking about the youth. You need to look at the fact that more than 62% of the population of Nigeria are young people. What is our target? In going into this election, we believe in technology. We thought technology was going to change the way we report our elections, the process of the elections, and the young people were mobilized towards it. There has been a deficit of trust, between Nigerians and the political leadership, and also INEC itself. And now we are talking about, going through all of those processes. So they started believing again, because all the off-cycle elections towards the before the 23 general elections, there was a lot of improvement. Everywhere there was improvement in both logistics, the timely reporting, of bringing the election materials and so on and so forth. A lot of improvement. Then we went to the general election. People, during the continuous registration, a lot of people were mobilized. This mobilization ought to happen at all levels, by political leaders and also by the political parties. All of the other things with orientation of Nigeria on 774 have qualified political scientists that are manning their desks. We need to empower them. I think the quality of our citizenry is what is playing. The issue of corruption, high-level corruption that is everywhere. But they have forgotten that nobody is living this world alive. You need to write your history. You need to use the facilities that God has given you for humanity, because you are going to leave everything behind. And so the commitment and the value reorientation. We said, oh, you know, in our national item, we say, arise, O compatriot. We also say the labors of our heroes past will not be in vain. Should we not be improving? And I think what we need to do is more improvement. I don't know how INEC is going to redeem their own image. For the civil society, we will monitor, we will report, we will do the best that we can, but we will try as much as we can to hold them accountable for what they're doing. What do you do with an electoral system where you are appointing the party loyalties, you know, party loyals into the political system? I remember how much we fought before when they were doing the national commissioner, when they were doing the rec, how we fought hard. They are still appointing people that they know is a clear violation of the constitution. With the two people they just, they just cleared now. And so the leadership of Nigeria needs to show the seriousness. And then the judiciary, we're calling on the NBA to do an overhaul of their system, because every lawyer that is qualified should be a member of the NTA. They need the judicial system, they need to hold themselves. It's unbelievable what the judiciary is doing all over the country, where you can just bring in the judge to do whatever and so on and so forth. I think the INEC for not pronouncing or doing the right thing is also overboard.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam NF, for your thoughts on that. But let's come back to the studio now, where we have Amzat. We're still talking about the issues of the politicians, and also there are these allegations of politicians using state institutions to manipulate elections and to intimidate and all that. How can we tackle that challenge?
I think drawing from experience, so for us, we've been to even the United States for election observation. The just concluded election in Liberia were there. I think that our politicians are different breed, because when you engage politicians who are running for office in all of these countries during town hall meetings or focus group discussion, it's quite different, and they understand the rule of law, taking precedent from any other process. So I think, back home here, I think we need to get people with a different mindset into politics. I know some of my colleagues in the civil society space would say, oh, this is a conversation or this is a topic we're not supposed to dwell on. But when we look at our leadership recruitment process as a country, it is the political party that provides a platform for every candidate. So that's why on the ballot paper, you only see the logo of the party. In other countries, you see a picture. So, for instance, in Liberia, you see the picture of the candidates, because there they have independent candidacy. So even if they're vying on the platform, their picture is still on the. But here, you come out through a system, which is a political party. So I think this is an opportunity for young people out there. I think they should, because see, when you say, "Oh, what do we do?" Let's enter the political party and take charge of the political party, because we can't say that we're over 60% of the population. But when you look at the structure of the party, we only play 2% role. Then how do you engage and inform what becomes of the policy and system and process of those political parties? So for me, let's have a lot of people go into politics. People say
that's why the Not Too Young to Run Act, came into being in the first place.
The Not Too Young to Run is that phenomenal case study that should inspire other young people. And I think that we've even seen some of the ripple effects, because this administration has now appointed a lot. So this is some of the impacts that, on what we call undocumented impacts. See, today for the first time, we have a minister of youth that is actually young, So, but I think we need to build on that opportunity, beyond the Not Too Young to Run movement and having a lot of young people run for office in parliament. We need to take charge of the system and in its entirety, because the candidate comes out from a convention of the political party. So how many young people are members of political party? Are you going for ward meetings? Are you going for local government meetings? Are you going to the state when they have this meeting that inform the national convention? Because if we don't do that, and we think, oh yes, because young people have access to technology. Technology only play less than 5%. And come to think of it, when you look at the outcome of this, or when you look at the engagement pre-2023 election, yeah, it was exciting the way Twitter Spaces and all of those conversations. But fake news is another, another big elephant we're dealing with. And when you follow the court cases and what you had on social media, it means over 80% of those information were fake. Nobody challenged results in the court. If you follow the court, nobody challenged the results. It was more of technicalities. Nobody actually, no political party who were aggrieved challenged the actual results.
Yeah, that's true.
So again, I think that we're living in a bubble, thinking because, we're middle class elites, we have access to technology and information. We think, Nigeria has to change. But what are you doing? You think it will just change, by, your usual rhetorics. No, let's engage.
What's your call?
Let's engage the political party. Become card-carrying members. It is not a crime. Become card-carrying members of those political party. Beyond getting your PVC coming out to vote, engage the political structure and system. For me, if young people are able to take over that entirety of that process, then yes, and if we can take lesson from Not Too Young to Run. We gave an ultimatum to a sitting president. We shut down the National Assembly lawfully to agitate and campaign for what we truly believe it's an impediment to allow for young people to aspire. So I think that now that we have age reduction become law, that when you're 25 you can actually run for office, then let's go to the political party, because without them there is nothing you can run on.
Hamza, thank you. Hamza, again, desperation to win elections at all costs is the root cause, of all the political rascality, where you find some people burning public infrastructures in the name of impeachment, political electoral malpractices, political misdemeanors, and all that. And I think the Electoral Act, one of the ways to check things that like that was provided by the Electoral Act that puts a limit to the amount that political parties are to spend during campaigns. I don't know if that has helped to bring some sanity into the system.
So when you are planning for election, when you are planning to improve the system, the politicians are on planning. And often, you see, what really amazes me is our lack of interest in staying there and saying, you guys would have to behave. I like the way my friend and brother Samson Itodo, he said you have an elite class that hate their country. Each time he says it, I just chuckle, because that for me is the completeness of it. If you like your country, there's a modicum of behavior that you put up to change things. What we're talking about, young people. Listen, Claire, there are majority of our citizens, this youth that we talk about, they don't live in the cities. So they are the ones that he's talking about. In my place, where we come from, Urumini, this substance is the biggest challenge today. Young people who are being decimated by drugs. Majority of the people who live in your country, when they open their door in the morning, the first thing that comes out is a goat and chicken. So the folks who are on Twitter, who are not registered, majority of them don't even live in the country, are defining narratives. The political party said they registered 40 million, a particular political party says it registered 40 million members. It did not have up to 10 million votes. That's the challenge of even our ability to accountability, even for ourselves. When a political party says, I have 40 million registered members, and it could not get 10 million votes. You asked us for solutions. The solution is, first, how do you join a political party in the morning, and in the evening you leave that political party, and by the next morning you come back to the same political party, later in the evening you leave again? The fluidity of movement within political parties under the guise of waiver is a challenge. How can you leave a political party in 2 months, 3 months, you become the presidential candidate of a political party that you've never been a member in? And Nigerians clapped. We didn't find anything worrying about that until we are able to have a conversation with the political class of Nigeria. Our election will not be. See,
what kind of conversation?
Now,
Because
the conversation
yes.
is bring Hamza in the room, bring senator in the room, bring House of Rep in the room, bring police in the room, bring INEC in the room, in one room. No, this one, let's talk. Let's engage. That your activities, the way you have conducted your primaries.
That should be the forte of the civil society organization.
You see, that's the challenge. You outsource everything to us. You sit down and say, oh, the media and civil society, you guys are not talking enough. You are not. Who pays me to do that? No, I'm on NTA this morning. Oh, Eze, I saw you on NTA. You people must be paid a lot of money. Have you paid me shish since I've been coming here? This civil society you talk about, you want to use the head of civil society to break coconut so that other people will eat? We all must invest in this conversation. What I'm forcing is a multi-stakeholder conversation on the future of elections in our country. Multi-stakeholder conversation on the future of elections. It has to hold. See, you took people, you appointed people in Nigeria with vast experienced people, appointed position. The only people you could find are members of a political party for a sacred institution. You could not find people who are not affiliated anywhere to run this institution. Claire, look at every morning, Demola, everybody, you are coming, talking, wanting to improve things. We've scaled up our election, but the human beings, to make this process better, we are not interested in pushing them. It's worrying because at the end of the day, you have cleared a partisan person. You've cleared him. Everybody knows. This one now is not making up. On television, everywhere, the man in a party regalia has been broadcasted by different media organizations to show that he's a party person. Another one has been shown. You just with a lot, without any qualms. That's the beginning of the problem of it. Technology. The most advanced countries of the world are skeptical about technology. Skeptical. Germany perhaps is one of the advanced. Its election is manual. The American system is not technologized. You've been there. It's not a tech. It's both manual. It's bimodal. That's what is bi. Is two. Manual running side by side with technology. So there was no promise anywhere that your election will be driven by technology. This 2023 Electoral Act did not say so.
Okay.
It never made that promise.
I think you need to clarify this again.
No, I've kept on saying it.
We can't stop.
Those who don't want to hear, this Electoral Act 2022, the one all of us worked together to produce, has no promise of technology. What he said is bimodal. And what is bimodal? It says both your manual and your technology will be running side by side together. Bimodal voter accreditation system. Bimodal. So where does technology stop? Where does technology kick in? Your voter registration process is technology. Mm-hmm. Your voter and voting and accreditation is technology. Your result management process is manual. What is posted on the IREV is not figure. It is photo. Okay. It's not figure. The IREV is not a computation. It does not do computation of figures. It says that the presiding officer the presiding officer should snap this result that has been given to party agents, police, and any interested. And there is another Form E60 that should be pasted on the wall, that when you have given everybody their copy, you should upload. There is a proviso that if there is network, you upload real time. If there is no network, everybody should follow
the manual process.
The process should follow the process until you get a network. But why are you posting to that server? Number one, check today. You can check here where we are here. 2003, 2007, 2011. There is no Nigerian election results in the cloud. No. Today, after this election, if you are researching on Nigerian election, you can go to that cloud and pull down this result
information.
Do you have improvements? Are there opportunities for improvement? Was everything gotten well? In 2011, the Kenyans did what we did. It failed woefully. In the next electoral cycle, they improved on it. Our impatience with our own processes is also part of the challenge. Why every legislative year we are doing new electoral law. Every legislative year we must amend our electoral act. We are not willing to patiently walk the one that we have done and even see whether there are processes that can be improved. And when you say that, they say, oh, you are supporting INEC. By the way, civil society is not in conflict with INEC. We are partners.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ezenwa, for bringing so much clarity to many of these issues this morning. But before we go, let me come back to Hamzat. I want you to just, before you give your parting words, there have been issues of people complaining that the electoral offenders are not being given enough penalties, to deter others from committing the same offense. What's your take on it, and how do you think this can be addressed as well?
Yeah, I agree, because when you look at the Ekiti election, for instance, where EFCC apprehended some people who were planning to induce voters and they got arrested, there's not been enough information and knowledge on that entire proceeding. But there's that debate around, do we set up an independent body, or do we also give INEC the powers to be able to prosecute? Because what happens is, is the police that would take these people to court. But I've on the opinion that if we're looking at the cost of governance, then we cannot, set up another commission or agency that now prosecute electoral offenders rather. So for me, again, is to look at how can we strengthen the institutions that are existing, like the Nigerian police. I believe in the Nigerian police, and they're one of the finest if we give them what it takes. So this political will give them resources, train them, and pay them. Let's dignify our public institution like the Nigerian police. And maybe lastly, can we take away solutions that are money driven? Because you say, let's talk about what are the solutions. Let's not put money first. Nigeria is always, we need this amount of money, and it's always running into billions and trillions. Can we actually even sit down and think before we start bringing in money, before even those solutions?
Thank you very much, Hamza, for that, for your thoughts there. Claire?
Yes, unfortunately, we've run out of time, always running out of time when you're having a very important conversation. Hamza, I'd like to really appreciate your contributions once again. And of course, Hamza is the co-founder of Not Too Young to Run movement.
Interestingly, I've resigned from the Not Too Young to Run movement. Because we say we always, before now they say we're the leaders of tomorrow. The tomorrow is here, and they're saying we're still the leader of tomorrow. But for us, we're creating space for younger people. So I've resigned from the movement.
Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you.
That's good.
Let me also appreciate Ezenwa. Ezenwa, it's always a pleasure to have you join us for this conversation. Thank you for the insights that you have given into the topic for today.
May have gone back into the Not Too Young to Run.
All right, and also we want to appreciate NLB, the immediate past boss of the Action Aid. She joined us earlier on via Zoom. And so, Demola.
Okay, well, that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Thanks for being there. I am Ademola Adeoye.
And I'm Claire Adeblabu Abdul Razak. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye from all of us.